In 3100 BCE, Kemet became the world's first nation state. Before this, identity was tied to family, village, or region. The unification of Upper and Lower Kemet brought a new political reality, a vast land united under a single ruler, shaping a shared Kemetic identity that would endure for millennia. The unification of Kemet was not simple. Early rulers like Narmer faced the challenge of governing a vast and diverse population. The consolidation of power required diplomacy, military strength, and religious legitimacy. Over time, the concept of divine kingship emerged, reinforcing the African pharaoh's role as both ruler and god on earth. Kemetic history was not measured in years but dynasties. The priest Manetho, writing during the Ptolemaic period, categorized Kemetic rulers into 30 dynasties, starting with Narmer. Later historians added a 31st dynasty for the Persians. Even under foreign dominion, the Kemetic belief in dynastic kingship remained unbroken. Pharaonic rule was deeply rooted in mythology. African kings were seen as direct descendants of the creator god Atum, ruling by divine right. This sacred status legitimized their power, yet Kemet was not immune to political fractures. Periods of turmoil and competing dynasties tested the strength of divine kingship. Unlike Mesopotamia, where the priesthood initially held the highest authority, Kemet embraced kingship from its earliest days. While Mesopotamian rulers emerged from religious elites over time, Egyptian pharaohs ruled from prehistory, merging political and divine authority into a single, enduring institution. The earliest depictions of kingship appear long before the first dynasty. A pottery beaker from the 3800 BCE in Abydos shows a figure crowned with a feathered headdress, wielding a mace and standing over captives, symbols of absolute rule. Similar imagery has been found in Nekhen and Nubit, foreshadowing Egypt's future rulers. By 3500 BCE, the role of the king was visually established. The painted tomb at Nekhen depicts a ruler performing sacred rituals and leading troops into battle. Later, the Narmer palette reinforced this motif, showing the king striking down his enemies, a symbol that would define Kemetic rule for thousands of years. The unification of Kemet was more than a political event. It was the birth of an idea. The African pharaoh was not just a ruler, but the living embodiment of divine order. This belief in kingship defined Egypt, shaping a civilization whose legacy continues to inspire the world today. As Kemetic kingship evolved, so did the way rulers were depicted in art. In the earliest periods, Egyptian kings were shown as mighty animals, lions, scorpions, or catfish, symbols of raw power and divine authority. These images reinforced the idea that the king possessed superhuman strength, ruling by divine right over both people and nature. The Narmer palette marks a turning point in the royal artistic expression. Earlier palettes, such as the battlefield palette, portrayed rulers as animals dominating their enemies. By Narmer's time, kings appeared in human form, reflecting a shift in ideology, one that emphasized royal presence as both warrior and a divine figure. Power was more than an idea. It was something to be seen and held. As early as 4400 BC, the wooden staffs symbolized authority. In time, these evolved into the crook and the flail, representing the king's duty to guide and discipline his people. Pharaohs also adopted the bull's tail, a relic of pre-dynastic tradition, linking their rule to the untamed strength of the wild bull. These symbols reinforced the king's divine power, ensuring his legitimacy through both tradition and might. Among the most enduring symbols of Kemetic rule were the crowns of kingship. The white crown represented Upper Egypt, while the red crown signified Lower Egypt. Though both crowns likely originated in Upper Egypt, they were later reinterpreted to embody the unity of the two lands. With the dawn of the first dynasty, a new symbol emerged, the double crown, fusing red and white into a single headdress. This was more than mere decoration. It was a declaration of Kemet's unity under the pharaoh's rule. Monumental architecture became another tool of kingship. From the earliest periods, rulers used grand buildings to display their power. The capital city of Memphis housed the White Wall, a massive royal palace that stood as a testament to the king's strength and authority. Just as modern governments construct imposing buildings to project stability and power, ancient Kemetic rulers used architecture to define their divine rule over the land.
King Den's reign marked a turning point in Kemet's political evolution. His innovations reshaped royal burial traditions, introducing entrance stairways that led to larger, more elaborate funerary monuments. Under his rule, the government prioritized elite interests, enacting major administrative and territorial changes that consolidated royal authority.
Records from the Palermo stone suggest that King Den restructured Egypt's agricultural landscape. Land in the delta was reorganized to create royal estates. Large areas of land of Lower Kemet were designated as crown land, strengthening the African king's direct economic control. A new system divided Kemet into 42 provinces or nomes, each ruled by an ancient Egyptian nomarch appointed by the ancient Egyptian king. While Upper Egyptian provinces follow historical traditions, the Delta provinces were shaped around ancient royal entrance, reinforcing centralized power. The rise of high-ranking officials with lavish state-funded burials reveals an expanding bureaucracy. North Saqqara became the primary burial ground for Memphis's elite. Massive mastaba tombs reflected their power and close ties to the monarchy. These tombs, built in the palace facade style, reinforced the ancient African officials' allegiance to the central government. Writing became essential to governance. King Den's chancellor, Hemka, was buried with the earliest known papyrus scrolls, symbolizing the growing link between literacy and power. Other officials like Merka held multiple administrative, courtly, and religious roles, illustrating loosely structured but highly influential bureaucracy. Advancement was not based on rank alone, but on proximity to the king. Controlling Egypt's borders was a priority. At Abu or Elephantine Island, the government constructed fortified customs posts at the start of the First Dynasty. This stronghold regulated trade and movement between Kemet and Nubia. However, economic and political concerns often overshadowed local traditions. The placement of this fortress disrupted religious sites, demonstrating the government's willingness to prioritize control over community concerns. Egypt's unity and prosperity came at a cost. Strict government oversight. From its earliest history, Kemet was ruled by an authoritarian system that centralized power in the hands of the pharaoh. This system, once established, would define Egyptian governance for the next 3,000 years. The death of King Ka marked the end of Kemet's first dynasty. Like his predecessor, he was laid to rest in Abydos, continuing the royal burial tradition. However, his successor, Hetep made a significant departure, relocating the royal necropolis to Saqqara near Memphis. This shift signaled a new vision for kingship and governance. Hetep's reign introduced architectural advancements. His tomb at Saqqara included rock-cut galleries and elaborate chambers designed for the afterlife. By positioning his tomb near Memphis, he placed the seat of royal power at the balance of Upper and Lower Kemet, reinforcing the centralization of state. Despite efforts at centralization, Kemet was not at peace. The Palermo stone records unrest during King Neterjer's reign, suggesting that Lower Kemet sought independence from the monarchy. The later return to Abydos for royal burials under Peribsen suggests a political shift as power moved back to the south. The unity established by the first dynasty was now in question. One of Kemet's most unique rulers, Peribsen, broke from tradition by associating himself with the god Seth rather than Peru. This departure from royal convention hinted at deep divisions within the ancient Egyptian land. His decision to build a funerary palace in Abydos reinforced his connection to the early kings, a political move to legitimize his rule in a fractured Egypt. However, his reign reflected an ongoing struggle for unity. Khashekam launched a military campaign to reclaim Lower Egypt. Inscriptions record the slaughter of 47,000 northern enemies, securing his victory. His triumph was immortalized in his name change, Khashekam, meaning the two powers have appeared. By merging Seth and Heru, symbols of his titulary, he declared peace between Upper and Lower Egypt, uniting the land under a single ruler once more. With Kemet reunited, Khashekam turned to economic revival. A national census focused on agricultural wealth and gold reserves, strengthening government finances. Kemet renewed trade with the Near East, particularly Byblos, where it secured valuable imports, cedarwood for shipbuilding and tin for bronze making. Among Khashekam's grave goods were the earliest known bronze artifacts in Kemet, marking a technological milestone. The adoption of bronze technology transformed Kemet's economy and state infrastructure. With an increase in trade income, Khashekam launched ambitious construction projects across the kingdom. His reign marked a turning point. He became the most prolific builder in early Kemetic history. Religion remained central to royal power, and temple construction flourished under Khashekam. He expanded the sacred complex at Meccan, reinforcing his connection to Egypt's divine traditions. But his greatest achievement lay in Abydos, where he built a vast enclosure that surpassed all previous structures. Khashekam's tomb was a fusion of tradition and innovation. Combining elements from the first and second dynasties, it symbolized unity and continuity. But its most striking feature was the use of carefully dressed limestone blocks, an unprecedented innovation that foreshadowed the Great Pyramid's construction in the future. Khashekam's influence extended beyond Upper Kemet. Recent excavations suggest he commissioned major construction in Lower Kemet as well. At Saqqara, a vast desert enclosure, Gheser el-Mudir, has been linked to his reign. Measuring nearly half a mile long, it is the largest known royal monument of its time, underscoring his authority across the two lands. At Saqqara, a monumental transformation took place. The vast enclosure known as Gheser el-Mudir, built during Khashekkam's reign, was dismantled to provide materials for a greater vision, the Step Pyramid. King Neterket, later known as Djoser, sought to surpass his predecessor, ushering in a new era of architectural innovation. What began as a simple tomb soon became the tallest structure of its time, the Step Pyramid, designed by Djoser's chief official Imhotep. It symbolized the primeval mound of creation. Imhotep's vision transformed royal burials. For the first time, the tomb and its funerary enclosure merged into a single grand monument, a design that would shape Kemet's future. The construction of the Step Pyramid required an unprecedented level of organization. This led to a structured government with the position of vizier, chief minister, reporting directly to the king. A new class of officials emerged. Ankh and Sepa oversaw districts. The Akwa controlled the royal bark. The Hesara managed the royal scribes, and the Kabu Sokar directed state workshops. The era of hereditary office holders gave way to men of talent. Metjin, once a mere storehouse clerk, climbed the ranks to become governor of several provinces. His inscription is the earliest known autobiography, marking a shift towards recognizing individual contributions in history, a defining feature of Kemet's evolving society. Djoser's successors struggled to match his legacy. Kings like Kaba and Senektet left behind their reigns largely obscure. However, one ruler, King Huni, introduced a new approach to royal construction, one that redefined the role of the pyramid. Instead of one grand monument, Huni built small step pyramids across Kemet's provinces. These pyramids reinforced royal authority in distant regions, serving as administrative hubs for tax collection. Strategically placed, they marked growing centralization. By the end of the Third Dynasty, the pharaoh's authority was absolute. With a structured bureaucracy, controlled provinces, and monumental architecture, Kemet stood united under the king's rule. This set the stage for the Fourth Dynasty, where King Seneferu and his successors would embark on an even greater architectural feat, the construction of the Great Pyramid.